Welcome back. Now, to start with, I am aware that what I'm wearing is not the same team. But in my defense, the Seattle Kraken have made the Stanley Cup playoffs for the first time since they were the Seattle Metropolitans, and the Vancouver Canucks have a shutout for the first time since they were the Vancouver Millionaires. So I felt like I needed to commemorate both occasions because these things just don't happen, and I had to congratulate Seattle and also, hey, the Canucks finally have a shutout. So that being said, those are games we'll get to later, and I figured that the old it just works. Anyways, all right. So starting off with, and yeah, you can see Vancouver in the V and Seattle in the S. All right. So starting off with Columbus and New Jersey, they weren't that creative back in the day. Hutchinson versus Vanacek in this one. Shots are 2-0 Columbus at 2.5 minutes. Jackets press at 6 minutes. The Devils score, but it's an offside play, so that bails Columbus out. We get a power play for Columbus. That was killed off, and then on a 2-on-1 after it ends, Hughes decides, I'll score it. He gets it 11:35. Devils press with 7.5 minutes left. Jackets go back to the power play. No Johnny Gaudreau on that power play. Without Johnny Gaudreau, apparently it hurts Columbus, a team that's already missing all of their players. Near miss for Jenner, and that power play is killed off. So it's 1-0 after 1 for the New Jersey Devils. 1:20 into the second period, Tatar, who had the goal that was taken back in the first, he gets one in the second from Hischier and Graves. Shovels that one in close. Then there's a power play for the Devils, and they score on it. It's Hughes from Meyer and Hischier at 2:20. Shots are 6-2 for New Jersey at 8 minutes. We then get a power play for Columbus. There's a shorthanded blast from Mercer that's saved. That's killed off. But then Luoto gets his first from Corrali and Robinson at 11:33 and makes it 3-1. Goalie interference challenge? Nope, good goal. So the Devils kill the resulting power play, and then they get one of their own, and they score on theirs. It's Timo Meier scoring from Hughes and Brad at 16-16. It's 4-1 after 2. Third period, the goals. This is just where the blowout takes place. Obviously, the no mercy magnets don't fit at the top of this board, so that's why they're at the bottom. A lot of no mercy, and I thought at the start of the night, as long as there isn't a ton of goals, it shouldn't be that hard to keep up. Yeah, all right. So at 2:07, it's Howla from Marino and Boquist. Marino had a big game. And then at 4:40, it's Meyer from Marino and Hughes. Columbus gets a power play that leads to a shorthanded goal. Severson from Howla on that one. That's at 6:36, so 4.5-minute period. They blow this one wide open. Devils then finish the kill. And then at 9:27, it's Graves scoring from McLeod and Marino. Devils get a power play. That's killed off. But your final score is 8-1. Yeah, I got all 8 goals up there. So the New Jersey Devils 50, 21, and 8 with the win. Columbus 24, 46, and 8 with the loss. 3 stars in this one: Hughes, Meyer, and Marino. Shots on net 8-5 New Jersey in the first, 14-8 New Jersey in the second, 14-4 New Jersey in the third. Final shots 36-17 New Jersey. Power plays 0 for 5 for Columbus, 2 for 3 for New Jersey. Hits 20-8 for Columbus because they never had the puck. Hutchinson 19 saves on 24 shots. Gillies in relief saves 9 out of 12. Vanacek only had 17 shots, and he saved 16 of them. All right, next up, Minnesota and Pittsburgh. So Minnesota's kind of getting cold at the wrong time here, and we'll see how things go because really, and again, we saw Colorado and Dallas playing pretty strong tonight. So for Minnesota, this is kind of a tough one. It's Fleury versus Jarry. Penguins press at 2.5 minutes. Remember, the Penguins below the playoff line coming into tonight. They had to win. Eriksson Ek has a chance that deflects out. He wouldn't finish the game either. Rust has a rush chance that's held. Lots of early whistles in this one, but the shots are 7-3 Pittsburgh at 9 minutes. Rust couldn't bury one in close. There's a press by the Wild with 7.5 minutes left. I put Wings because there's so many games going on. I accidentally put the wrong team. But Letang would score at 15:02 from Dumoulin and Gensel, and that was on a face-off win. And that was already the 17th shot for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So 17 shots in 15 minutes. Rough night for Fleury. Power play for the Penguins. A short-handed rush by Duhaime ends up helping to kill it off. And it's 1-0 for Pittsburgh after 1. Second period, Steele has a net feed that's picked off. The Wild had the only shot on net through the first 5 minutes. There's a power play for Minnesota. That's killed off. Then Pittsburgh gets a power play, and they score on theirs. It's Raquel from Letang and Malkin at 10:53. Eriksson Ek was hurt on the play. That's where he makes his exit. He would not return. There's a power play for Minnesota. That's killed off. 46.4 seconds left. Another power play for Minnesota. That rolls over into the third period where Pittsburgh finishes the kill. And then Zucker makes it 3-0. He scores from Malkin and Raquel at 2:58. Penguins press for another. The Wild then get some pressure of their own 6 minutes in. We get a power play for the Wild. It becomes a 5-on-3. They score during the 5-on-3. It's Johansson from Zuccarello and Boldy at 7:39. Penguins then kill off the 5-on-4, and then they get their insurance. It's Carter from Dumoulin at 13:08. We then had a power play for Pittsburgh. That's killed off, but your final score is 4-1. Pittsburgh goes to 39, 30, and 10. They got no help out of town. None. The Minnesota Wild 44, 24, and 10 with the 4-1 loss. And now they're third place in their division. Shots on net are 19-5 Pittsburgh in the first, 13-5 Minnesota in the second, 10-7 Minnesota in the third. Final shots 31-28 for Pittsburgh. Power plays Minnesota 1 for 5, Pittsburgh 1 for 4. The hits 30-23 Pittsburgh. Fleury saved 27 out of 31. Jari, nice bounce back game, 27 saves on 28 shots. So yeah, Pittsburgh needed a win and they got it. However, as I said, nobody helped them out. The Ottawa Senators needed to help themselves out. Tonight's just a disaster if you're a Sens fan, and I don't know what to say. They did outplay Florida for large stretches, just they didn't get the puck luck. So it's Merrilainen versus Lyon in this one. Early jump for the Sens. There's a post for Sanderson. The shots on net are 4-2 for Ottawa at 3 minutes. Sens press at 5.5 minutes, but Montour puts one through Merrilainen from the slot. Tkachuk and Mark Stahl with the assists at 7:59. Senators press for response. However, there's a power play for the Panthers, and they score on it. It's Barkov from Reinhart and Tkachuk at 14:03, and that took 9 seconds. So it was pretty obvious that Florida had some idea of where to shoot on Merrilainen. It sort of reminded me of Hofer for St. Louis in his last appearance. So power play for Ottawa, that's killed off. 36 seconds left. The Sens get another power play. So that rolls over into the second period. Now, this still counted as a shorthanded goal according to the app, but I don't know if it's actually a shorthanded goal or not. I was right at the end of it. So Barkov with the goal from Reinhart and Forsling at 1:24. The important thing being it's now 3-0 for Florida. That ended the night for Merrilainen. Sogard goes in. DeBrincat then gets absolutely drilled by Tkachuk. The funny thing is, there's 2 minutes of 4-on-4, but Matthew Tkachuk's own brother Brady is trying to argue it should be more penalty minutes for his brother. So that's just how determined he was to help out his team. So Giroux ends up scoring from Batherson during the 4-on-4 at 4:25. Sens look for another. The Panthers, though, they get a power play and they score on it. It's Reinhart from Montour and Barkov at 7:48. The Panthers go back to the power play. And Luostarinen would bury a rebound. That's from Ekblad and Montour at 9:25. Shots are 12-7 for the Senators with 9 minutes left. There's 2 minutes of 5-on-3 for the Senators. And it's killed off. And that's really the turning point in the game, the fact they couldn't get anything. And then not only that, but the two guys come out of the box. Cousins is one of them, and he scores on a rush right out of the box. Ekblad and Gudas with the assists at 15:38. And then at 17 minutes, Forsling adds one because why not? So that made it 7-1. And then with 1:16 left, the Sens get a power play. So that rolls over into the third. Panthers finish the kill. The shots on net are only 2 apiece, 3.5 minutes in. Sens get a power play. That's killed off. The shots were 12-3 for Ottawa with 9.5 minutes left. Things are getting fighty. There's all kinds of penalties going on. I stopped even bothering to track the penalties. Greg would score one for Ottawa from Brown and Brandstrom at 16:18. It is not enough to keep the No Mercy magnet off the board. I was starting to think if there was another No Mercy game in the late games about wearing my Cobra Kai jersey for the recap. So your final score is 7-2 for Florida. They go to 41-31-7 for Ottawa, 37-35-7. Their faint playoff hopes are done. 3 stars are Montour, Lyon, and Barkov. The shots on net, Ottawa dominated 22-10 in the first, 19-12 in the second, 17-8 in the third. Final shots 58-30 for Ottawa. Power plays, the Sens 0 for 6. Florida 3 for 6. The hits were 24-24. Merrilainen saves 9 out of 12. Sogard saved 14 out of 18. Lyon saved 56 out of 58 shots. So, yeah, he belonged in those 3 stars. Lyon, apparently, the more work he gets, the better he gets in the net. All right, moving along. Toronto and Boston. So, this was an interesting one. I thought Toronto played a pretty solid road game overall. So, it's Samsonov versus Swayman. The Bruins press at 1.5 minutes. The shots are 2-0 for Boston 3 minutes in. Pasternak has a rush chance. That's held. The Leafs press at 7.5 minutes. Frederick then had a net drive. That was saved by Samsonov. pardon me. Leafs get a power play. That's killed off, just the one shot allowed by Boston during that. Lafferty versus Greer happens on a Lafferty hit, so the Leafs go back to the power play. That's killed off too. The Bruins press in the final minute, but it's scoreless after one. Second period, Orlov has a net drive that's defended. Marner has a rush chance that's saved. The Leafs press at 3 minutes. Kerfoot has a rebound that's held. We then get a power play for Boston. There were late chances during that, but the Leafs do kill that off. Shots on net are 5 apiece at 8 minutes. Again, I thought Toronto played really well. Nylander's denied and close, and then it's Lafferty that scores from Aston Reese at 11:34. So Aston Reese, pretty good mark in terms of his recent points. He's been doing pretty well. Bruins get a power play. That's killed off by Toronto. Good kill. They're ahead 1-0 after 2 periods. Third period. McAvoy, upper body injury during the game, won't return. Remember, he had a shoulder injury that kept him out to start the season. I would think there has to be some concern in Boston fandom right now, because if they don't have McAvoy, there's a lot of banged up Bruins right now. Shots are 3-2 for the Leafs 4 minutes in. They then get a power play. Boston kills that off. Leafs press at 7.5 minutes, but at 11:32, Coyle scores to tie it from Carlo. Shots are 7-5 then for the Bruins with 4 minutes left. They're getting the better chances. Aston Reese tips one wide. Orlov fires one high on a rush. We're going to overtime. Bruins control early. Marchand with a miss, but he was forced to miss it on a stick that basically kept a goal out. So there's a power play for Boston, but Toronto had to take that penalty. And they do kill it off, but right after it ends is Pasternak with his 57th goal of the season from Orlov and Coyle at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So your final score is 2-1 in overtime for Boston. They go to 61-12-5. 127 points. Just ridiculous. For Toronto, 46-21-11 with the overtime loss. Like I said, there's a lot of good things to take out of this if you're a Toronto fan. 3 stars are Pasternak, Swayman, and Samsonov. Shots on net are 11-7 Boston in the first, 15-11 Toronto in the second, 10-8 Toronto in the third, and then 3-0 Boston in the overtime, including the shot that matters. Final shots 33-32 for Boston. Power plays Toronto 0 for 3, Boston 0 for 4. Hits 39-28 for Boston. Samsonov saved 31 out of 33, and Swayman 31 saves on 32 shots. Not too bad. Maybe I should have tied a Swayman jersey around my neck. No, I got to have some dignity to this. All right, next up. Capitals in against the Montreal Canadiens. So, of course, the Capitals being eliminated from the playoffs, and maybe that played a role in what we ended up seeing tonight in this one. It's Kemper versus Montembeault, early press by the Caps. Shots are 1 apiece at 3.5 minutes. The Habs press 5 minutes into it. Strome ends up opening the scoring, though, for Washington from Ovechkin and Jensen. That's at 5 minutes and 30 seconds. He wired it on a rush, too, so good rush opportunity there that he buries. Habs look to answer. The Caps are keeping the Habs to the outside. Power play for Montreal. That's killed off. The Caps get a power play of their own. That's killed off as well. It's 1-0 Washington after 1. Second period, there's a power play for the Caps. That leads to a shorthanded goal. Nick Suzuki from Edmondson and Matheson at 3:42. The Habs finish the kill. Shots are 5-3 Montreal at 7 minutes. The Caps go back to the power play, and Armia scores shorthanded. That's from Matheson and Evans at 7:52. And at 9:23, Gallagher joins in on the fun, makes it 3-1 for Montreal. That's from Jonathan Drouin. And then Armia gets his second goal of the game. That's from Matheson and Suzuki at 11:15. So suddenly Montreal's up in one that looks like it might be a laugher. Remember, I've already got a couple of them on the board. I was like, I don't know how many No Mercy magnets I might need tonight. I might run out. So the Habs get a chance with the power play. That was killed off before the period's out. But after 2 periods, it's 4-1 in favor of Montreal. Third period, early chances for the Caps. Shots are 5-2 in their favor, 7 minutes in. Edmondson has a net feed. That's picked off. There's a power play for Washington. With 5:44 left during that power play, the Caps call a timeout. That turns out to be a good idea because Backstrom scores at 14:27 from Strome and Karlsson. Makes it a little closer. Caps look for another. The goalie pull happens with 4 minutes left, and Montreal hits the empty net. It's Armia with the hat-trick goal. Nice, because I love Armia. I think Yoel Armia is a very underrated bottom six forward. It's nice to see him getting points. Harvey Pinard with the assist. That's at 16:58. And then in 1942, just to kick them while they're down, Hoffman scores from Evans, makes your final score 6-2. With the win, Montreal goes to 31-42-6. I didn't put the record up there. I apologize. With Washington, they're 34-35-9, so now they're 1 game below NHL 500. Your 3 stars are Armia, Matheson, and Suzuki. Shots on net, 13-6 Montreal in the first, 12-8 Montreal in the second, and 12-7 Washington in the third. Final shots, 32-26 for the Habs. Power plays, Washington 1 for 5, Montreal 0 for 3. The hits, 17-8 for Washington. Kemper saves 26 out of 31, and Montembeault saves 24 out of 26. So another good night from their goalie, and now I need to change boards. So what was it I said about high-scoring games? Oh yeah, this ridiculousness. Not a lot of notes, not really needed. So it's Levi versus Husso in this battle between Buffalo and Detroit. Buffalo has very, very slim playoff hopes, but they're still there. So Sabres press at 2 minutes. At 4:35, Thompson opens the scoring from Cousins and Power. That one's wired top far corner, so nice goal there. Shots are 3-2 Buffalo, 6 minutes in. There's a power play for the Sabres. That's killed off, and then Zarnik ties it. From Bergeron and Wallman, that's at 10:37, and that was over the shoulder from a sharp angle. Then there's a power play for Detroit. They score on it. It is Larkin from Raymond and Sider at 15:05. Krebs then has a rush chance. He fires high. Wings press with 3.5 minutes left, and then at 17:10, it's Yoki Haru who ties the game up. Tuck and Middlestad with the assists. You celebrate with brawling. That's kind of how that works. Sabres come out with a 4-minute power play. They score. That was during the first 2 minutes, barely within the first 2 minutes. Cousins scores that one from Krebs and Power at 19:08. So good cycle and buried. So the Sabres are still on the power play, and there's 1:10 left on it to start the second period. It is killed off, but not long after at 1:32, Buffalo adds another to go up 4-2. It's Girgensons from Okposo and Power. Now the shots on net are 3-2 Detroit 5 minutes in. Power play for Detroit, that's killed off, but they go back to the power play and they score on it. It is Chason from Larkin and Raymond at 16:04, and then Edvinsson gets his second at 16:52 to tie up the game. So we're going to the third period tied at 4 at 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Greenway scores from Middlestad and Okposo. The shots on net are 5-0 Buffalo 4.5 minutes in, and at 4:32, that sixth shot is a goal. It's Cousins from Thompson and Dahlin. So all they have to do is hold a 2-goal lead in Detroit. 15 minutes left. They should be able to do that, but Detroit doesn't go away. It's Bergeron scoring from Luff at 8:02. The shots are 8-6 for the Sabres with 4.5 minutes left. So whatever momentum they had until that 4.5 minute mark did kind of fall away. And then after pulling the goalie, Perron scores from Sider and Raymond at 19 minutes. And then at the horn, you get more brawling because why not? So we go to overtime. Sabres controlled early. Tuck nearly ends it. Kopp had a near miss. Dahlin's robbed. But we go to the shootout. And in the shootout, Alex Tuck gets your winner. So Buffalo wins this one 7-6 in overtime. It's ugly. Well, shootout. And it's an ugly one. 38, 32, and 7, though, is the record for the Buffalo Sabres. For Detroit, 35, 33, and 10 with the shootout loss. 3 stars are Cousins, Power, and Raymond. Shots on net, 16-8 Buffalo in the first, 14-7 Detroit in the second, 10-8 Buffalo in the third, 3-2 Buffalo in the overtime. Final shots, 36-32 for the Sabres. Power plays, 1 for 3 for Buffalo, 2 for 3 for Detroit. Hits, 14-9 for Detroit. Levi, 26 saves on 32 shots. Husso, 30 saves on 36 shots. So, yeah, rough night for the goalies and for the timekeeper and for THG. Because remember, all those games up until this one all started at the same time. There was a lot of goals to keep track of. All right, next up. Tampa Bay in against the Islanders, and here's another no mercy magnet. So it's Elliott versus Sorokin, and there was no indication of what was going to happen in this one, other than in the shots and the opportunities. The Islanders were definitely the sharper team. Pulock has a blast that's held. They had the early jump in this one. The shots are 5-0 for the Islanders, 2.5 minutes in. So Tampa Bay, who struggles on the road, that continues tonight. Not much room for Tampa Bay in the first half. Nelson's denied and close. The Bolts get pinned down. Elliott quite busy. Shots are 10-1 at the half in favor of New York. Aho has a shot that's held as the Islanders press. We then get a power play for Tampa. Killorn has a chance that's held. That's killed off. Palmieri then fires one wide out of the box. So after the first period, it's scoreless. Second period, shots are 4-3 Tampa at 3.5 minutes. But at 3:46, Pelech. It's a little press by the Islanders. Screenshot, Pelech gets it from Pajot and Fashing. Bolduc then has a shot that's blocked, and Tampa Bay's having some turnover issues at this point in the game. Jeannot gets shaken up. He would leave, did not return. I think, Maroon got hurt later in the game as well. When there's this many games on, it is hard for me to keep track of how many players get hurt and who leaves games. I do my best. So the shots are 8-6 Tampa at 9 minutes, but at 9:54, Nelson scores. It's a good forecheck by Bolduc, and it's buried by Nelson because that's what he does. And then at 10:43, Palmieri scores from Nelson and Pulock. So, and the feed, of course, that I've got on is the Tampa Bay one, and you could tell they were really rooting for a Tampa Bay comeback, and it wasn't happening. We then get a power play for the Islanders. There was a shorthanded chance for Bellemare. He's denied there, and that's killed off. Martin has a rush chance then that's saved, and at 16:47, a little bit of a ray of hope comes in for Tampa. Kucherov scores from point, but before the period's out, Pulock kind of stamps that out. He scores from Nelson and Engvall. So at 19:40, after a heavy press by the Islanders, they score. They're up 4-1 after 2 periods. Third period, the Islanders press at a minute and a half. Then there's a near miss for Ross Colton. This is where they announced that Jeannot and Maroon would not return. Shots are 5 apiece at 8 minutes. There's a power play for the Islanders. Horvat hits the post. Then there's a shorthanded rush for the Bolts. They do kill that off. Tampa Bay presses with 5 minutes left, but the puck goes the other way, and it's a backdoor goal. It's Holmstrom from Horvat and Parise. That's at 15:14. And then at 19:41, Horvat scores from Dobson. So Horvat, who's had a hard time getting goals with the Islanders, he gets a goal and an assist in this one, and they win this one 6-1. So there's your no mercy magnet at the bottom. The Islanders go to 40, 30, and 9 on the season. Tampa Bay 45, 28, and 6. So the Islanders, Florida, and Pittsburgh all won tonight. Nothing changes in the East other than now there's one less game to go. 3 stars are Nelson, Pulock, and Horvat. Shots on net are 13-3 Islanders in the first, 15-14 Islanders in the second. Both teams had 14 shots in the third. Final shots are 42-31 for the Islanders. They're not messing around. Power plays 0-1 for Tampa, 0-2 for the Islanders. Hits 23-16 in favor of the Islanders. Elliott saves 36 out of 42. Sorokin saves 30 out of 31. So Sorokin doesn't get into the 3 stars because it's a 6-1 win, but he was very good when he had to be in this one when it was close. All right, next up, Carolina. So again, I'm looking at a power rankings today, and I see Carolina number 2, and I'm like, I really think people just look at the standings with Carolina rather than the actual play to have them at number 2 on a power rankings. They're just not there for me. At any rate, it's Anderson versus Saros. The shots are 2-0 Nashville at 3 minutes. Kane's press at 6 minutes to get a power play. That leads to a shorthanded goal. Jankowski scores from Stastny. That's with an E in it because it's a different spelling of Stastny, not a relation at all, and that's at 7:47. And then 3 minutes later, McCarron scores from Jankowski and McDonough and makes it 2-0 for Nashville. Preds look to add another. We then get a power play for Carolina. That's killed off. 25 seconds left. Nashville gets a power play. So that rolls over into the second period where Carolina finishes the kill. Press by Nashville 2.5 minutes. The shots are 3-2 Carolina at 6.5 minutes. Then there's a press by Nashville 8 minutes in. Kane's press back with 8.5 minutes left. The shots are up to 9-4 Carolina with 5.5 minutes left. And if Saros sees it, he saves it. So basically they leaned on Saros from here for the most part. Canes score, but there's a goalie interference challenge. Yep, that goal comes off the clock. Canes are down despite having a ton of chances. Really, Saros lights out. And what gets me is that when you have a goalie like Saros, I've noticed that the announcers are like, yeah, no, they're playing really well. They've got a goalie who's playing really well and is bailing them out. I don't think there's a coach in the NHL that says, you know what, just leave the puck in your end all night. That's fine. It's fine. Third period, shots are 2-0 Canes at 2 minutes. The Canes score, but it's offside. Now, that bailed out Saros. As good as Saros looked, that was a goal from center ice. And if that had counted, if there wasn't a player offside on that, that would have been on every highlight reel. So it was Burns that had that, and of course they review to make sure, and yeah, it's offside. It's not even close. Shots are 3-2 for the Canes at 7 minutes. The Canes then press at the half. Sissons gets dinged on a shot block. Good forecheck by Sherwood. Sherwood's been very good since Nashville called him up. Canes press with 8 minutes left. The Preds are doing a really good job of shot blocking at this point in the game. Goalie pull happens with 3:15 left. Burns has a shot that's blocked, and then Fabro hits the empty net from the other end of the rink. That's at 17-16, and it locks it away. Your final score is 3-0 for Nashville. They go to 40, 30, and 8 with the win. Carolina 50, 19, and 9. And I think it's the 50 that just has people saying, oh, yeah, no, they're one of the best teams. I have some concerns with Carolina. So your 3 stars in this one, Saros, Jankowski, and Stastny. Didn't see those 3 coming. Saros maybe. The other 2, not as much. Shots on net, 14-8 Carolina in the first, 12-6 Carolina in the second, 9-7 Nashville in the third. Final shots are 33-23 for Carolina. Carolina was 0 for 2 on the power play. Nashville 0 for 1. Both teams had 14 hits. Freddie Anderson saves 20 out of 22. Saros saves all 33 shots for his 20th career shutout. Kudos to him for that. Maybe I should have worn like something of each team that won tonight. It would have been 14 different items. I don't think I want to do that. Probably just the craziness from watching 14 games. All right, Rangers. Rangers in against St. Louis. Now, for the Rangers, I will say this. They don't have as much to play for right now as they might have had a couple weeks ago. I mean, New Jersey, they're not going to catch New Jersey in all likelihood. Well, I mean, after tonight, they're not going to. And obviously, Carolina is out of reach as well. So it's Halak versus Binnington. Early press by the Rangers. We then get a power play for the Blues. Good cycle late. It's killed off, though, just the one shot. Blues press after it ends. The shots are 3-0 for the Blues at 9 minutes, and there really wasn't much happening whenever I went back to that game for me to write stuff down. So it's scoreless after 1. Second period. Pitlick has a rush chance that's defended. Walker's then denied and close. Mott had a net drive that was blocked. The Rangers press at 2.5 minutes. But the Rangers would turn a puck over, and Toropchenko makes him pay for it at 8 minutes and buries it. So it's 1-0 St. Louis there. Rangers press with 5.5 minutes left. The shots are 10-3 in their favor with 4 minutes left. Toropchenko then has a rebound chance. That saved as he's going for another one. Blues press with 1.5 minutes left, but after 2 periods, they're up 1-0. Third period. Early power play for the Rangers, and they score on it. It's Tarasenko from Zibanejad and Fox at 1:55, so former St. Louis Blue, Vlad Tarasenko, in his first trip back to St. Louis. So they cycled and they buried at that. The shots are 1 apiece at 4 minutes. Blues press at 6 minutes. The Rangers press as well. They're kept to the outside. And then Pitlick puts St. Louis back in the lead. He scores from Krug at 10-13. Rangers press with 8.5 minutes left. There was more pressing by the Rangers with 4.5 left. Walker prevents a Tarasenko goal, but with 2:20 left, the Rangers get a power play, and they score on it. So the penalty kill's the only thing that let St. Louis down tonight. It's Trocheck from Tarasenko and Panarin at 17:57. It's a good cycle. He roofed it. We're going to overtime. Buchnevich is denied early. However, on a rush chance, Kapanen buries it. He gets another one. Kasperi Kapanen has been very good since they picked him up. Shen and Falk with the assist. That's at 1:16. St. Louis wins this one 3-2 in overtime to go to 37, 35, and 7 with the win. With the overtime loss, the Rangers 46, 21, and 12. So again, any hope of catching second is probably done for the Rangers, but I don't think it was going to happen. At any rate, the 3 stars are Pitlick, Kapanen, and Tarasenko. In his return to St. Louis, he gets in the 3 stars. Shots on net are 8-6 St. Louis in the first, 12-5 Rangers in the second. Both teams had 6 shots in the third. St. Louis had all 3 shots in the overtime, including the one that matters. Final shots 24-22 in favor of the New York Rangers. Power plays, the Rangers 2 for 2, St. Louis 0 for 1. Hits 15-11 St. Louis. Halak saves 19 out of 22 against his former team as well. Binnington 22 saves on 24 shots. Didn't look nervous. Don't know what else to tell you. All right, next up, Philadelphia and Dallas. So again, for Dallas, this is, I mean, they're called must-wins, and it seems kind of silly at this point in the year because, of course, it's a must-win. So it's Hart versus Ottinger. The Stars had the only shot on net in the first couple of minutes. It was pretty free-flowing there. Power play then for the Flyers. That's killed off. The shots are 3-3 at that point in the game. Stars press with 7.5 minutes left, but the Flyers go back to the power play. Dallas kills that off. And then with 1:09 left, Dallas gets a power play, and they score. Barely any time left on the clock. It's Robertson from Sagan at 19:58. So just one of those deflating goals if you're Philadelphia, right? So second period, there's an early power play for Dallas, and they score on this one as well. At 1:04, it is Pavelski from Ben and Heiskanen, and that's it for the power plays for Dallas. They didn't get any the rest of the night. Didn't need them. Shots are 8-2 for Dallas at 4 minutes. Allison fires one wide on a rush. The Flyers press at 8 minutes. Johnston has a net feed that's picked off, but then at 8:53, Miller scores from Johnston and Dodonov. So during that same shift, Colin Miller ends up getting a goal. And then at 10:56, it's a turnover. You can't let Pavelski get it because he's going to find Robertson, and he did. And Robertson buries it for his second goal of the game, and that makes it 4-0 in favor of Dallas. At 13:16, Hayes answers from Tippett and Ristolainen. The Flyers then press for another. Stars press with 3 minutes left, but it's 4-1 after 2 in favor of Dallas. Third period, early press by the Flyers. The Flyers had the lone shot on net at 5 minutes as Dallas is looking to just drag this one home, right? We then had a fight between Van Riemsdyk and Glendening. I will agree with the Dallas announcers. They don't want Glendenning fighting when he's come back from an injury and all that. You don't want him getting hurt again. Stars press, 9 minutes left in the game. Domi's then denied from the slot. Stars, a little sloppy in the second half, some turnovers. Philly doesn't make him pay, but they're going to have to watch that. You don't want to do that into the next game. Ben's denied on a rebound. The Stars had a 3-on-2 that's broken up, but in the end, they win this one 4-1. They go to 43, 21, and 14 with the win. Philadelphia 29, 36, and 13 with the loss. 3 stars are Pavelski, Robertson, and Miller. Shots are 8-7 Dallas in the first, 16-11 Dallas in the second, 7-6 Philadelphia in the third. Final shots 30-25 for the Dallas Stars. Power plays Philadelphia 0 for 2, Dallas 2 for 2. Hits 21-18 Philadelphia. Carter Hart saved 26 out of 30. Ottinger saved 24 out of 25. So now I need to change boards one last time. All right, so the improbable happens. Now I know it's Chicago. I know. I'm aware. I know exactly who they were against, but Vancouver hadn't had a shutout in 133 games. So it's Stalock versus Demko in this one. The shots are 1 apiece at 2.5 minutes. The Canucks press at 7 minutes. The Hawks stuck at 1 shot for a while, but they would get a couple of shots after I wrote that because that's how that works. Dickinson has a net drive. That's held. The Hawks then draw a power play. That's killed off. Garland has a net feed that's picked off. Kuzmenko to Beauvillier's picked off, and then at 16-16, Kuzmenko puts one through a screen into the net. Pettersson and Hirose with the assist. So for Akito Hirose, that is his first NHL point. You know, I have to say, NCAA signings very often, no big deal. It's whatever. Hirose may very well be a legit top 4, top 6 defenseman for the Canucks next year. Canucks look to add another. The Hawks press in the final minute. It's 1-0 Vancouver after 1. Second period, power play for the Canucks. Good 2-pad stack on Beauvillier there. Garland has a shot that's blocked, and then Kravtsov puts one in off Seth Jones' stick. So Garland and Hirose with the assists at 3:55. That is point number 2 for Hirose on the night. Dries then can't bury one in close. Canucks with some more pressure. Reichel's denied on a fast break. He may very well have been the best forward tonight for Chicago. Lucas Reichel's going to be a good one. We then get a power play for the Hawks. Short-handed Studnicka rush. He fires high there. That was killed off. We then get a power play for Vancouver. That's killed off as well, and the Canucks press to close out the period. So the score is 2-0 Vancouver. And the only thought I had going into the third was, can they actually get a shutout? Is that possible? And the reality is they did lean on Demko a bit in that third period. So Garland has a slap shot that saved the Hawks clear. Good Canucks forechecking at this point. Then there's a power play for Vancouver. That's killed off. Shots are 6-5 Chicago 8.5 minutes in. Reichel has a slot shot. That's held. Hughes with a stretch pass to Kuzmenko. Near miss there. Kara then has a shot that's held. The Canucks press with 7.5 minutes left. Things get punchy with 7 minutes left. The Hawks come out with a power play. That's killed off, and then the fans call one. The referee doesn't. And Shorthouse, and I want people to watch Canucks broadcasts because it feels to me like it's weird. At least once per game, I hear him saying 4:20 with 4:20 left. And it's such an arbitrary time, and I don't think it can be an accident. Shorty does it so often, it can't be. So if I ever meet John Shorthouse face-to-face, one of the first things I need to ask him is, you always say 4:20. Now, it's legal in BC, so it's fine. It's legal in Canada, it's fine. It's just, he says it every time, so I had to write it in green, right? Anyways, there you go. Pettersson then has a rush that's defended. Besser is denied and close. Am I the only one that notices he says it at least once a game? 1:13 left, the Canucks with an icing. The goalie gets pulled there, so I was like, okay, all right. Because Miller, I think it was Miller that had taken enough off of it, so it didn't ice it the first time, but then they ice it the next time. Because, of course, I'm thinking, 6-on-5, they're going to score. Shoulder save on a shot by Mitchell, and then Miller hits the empty net at 19:35 from Besser and Myers. So Vancouver wins this one 3-0. They go to 35-36-7 with the win. Chicago 25-47-6 with the loss. Your 3 stars are Demko, Hirose, and Kravtsov. Shots on net 11-8 Chicago in the first, 12-8 Vancouver in the second, 14-9 Chicago in the third. Final shots 33-29 Chicago. Power plays the Hawks 0 for 3, Vancouver 1 for 3. The hits 42-35 for Vancouver. Stalock 26 saves on 28 shots. Demko 33 shots for his third career shutout. He should have more. He should have a lot more. There are a number of times Vancouver's kind of hosed him on that shutout bid. All right, next up, Vegas and the LA Kings. This one was ugly. Korpisalo versus Bressois. The Kings score. Offside challenge. Yep, that's off the board. And then at 2:54, like on the next play, Kessel scores from Barbashev. That's buried and close. That's their second shot. And then on their third shot, they score again. It's Barbashev from Stevenson at 3:56. And then at 6:07, Stevenson scores on their fourth shot. That's from Kessel and Whitecloud. So they had to take a look at that. But yeah, counts. 2 minutes of 4-on-4. And then we get 3 minutes of a Vegas power play after that, as there was a 5-minute major called on the Kings. And during that major, Raw scores from Eichel and Pietrangelo at 11:23. That was only their 6th shot on net. So rough night for Korpisalo at that point. And then the Kings killed off the rest of the major penalty there. Shots are 10-5 Vegas with 5.5 minutes left. The Kings press with 1.5 minutes left. And then in the second period, Marchessault on a turnover scores at 1:02. So it's 5-0. And that's the end of the night for Korpisalo. Shots are 3-1 for Vegas at 2.5 minutes. Whitecloud has a shot that's saved and cleared. Grunstrom had a rush chance that was held. McEwen has a shot that nearly fools Brisebois, but he would cover it. We then get a power play for the Kings, and they score on it. It's Kopitar from Iafallo and Kempe at 11:24. It was a Kings bounce. It ends up on Kopitar's stick, and he buries it. Dorofeev then nearly answers. Eichel's denied on a post-to-post chance. Then we get a power play for Vegas, and Gavrikov with his first career shorthanded goal buries it on a fast break at 14:10. You know, Gavrikov has a little bit of offensive play to his game that I didn't see in Columbus, not at this rate. Kings finished the kill, and they had some momentum coming out of the second period. Third period, it is up to Vegas to take care of that, and they kind of do. There's zone time for the Kings early. They're not getting shots on net. Vegas is keeping them to the outside. They're blocking. Vegas presses at 4 minutes. The shots are 4 apiece at 6 minutes. Pressed by Vegas with 6 minutes left. With 4:12 left, Vegas gets a power play. They score, but it's offside, so no goal. And then the Kings finish the kill, but they can't get closer. Your final score is 5-2 for Vegas. They go to 49-22 and 8 with the win. They're very close to equaling their record for points from their first year. For the Kings, 45-24 and 10. This is a tough one for LA. They were really in the hunt for first. This basically is the end of that. So your shots on net are 13-11 Vegas in the first, 14-9 Vegas in the second, 12-10 for LA in the third. Final shots 37-32 for Vegas. Power plays LA 1-for-1. Vegas 1-for-4. The hits 45-20 for LA. Korpisalo saves 10 out of 15. Copley saves 22 out of 22. Brisebois saved 30 out of 32. So, yeah, pretty entertaining game, though. All right, Arizona and Seattle. Congratulations to the Seattle Kraken. What I liked was that, I mean, it's the ESPN feed I'm watching, and Linda Cohen talking about the fans, talking about the long suffering and this long time coming. Now, I understood what she meant, but I started chuckling because I'm like, yeah, it's year 2. I don't know, there might be some fan bases in the industry that are like, oh, you had to wait a whole 2 years for the playoffs? Anyways, I know what she meant, but I still got a chuckle out of it. So it's Vejmelka versus Grubauer. Early jump for Seattle in this one. Donato has a pass that's picked off. That's cleared out. The shots are 2 apiece at 3.5 minutes. Dunn then has a net feed. That's blocked. Seattle presses. Vejmelka holds there. Coyotes press with 9 minutes left. The teams exchange rushes soon after that. We get a power play for Seattle. That's killed off. The shots have become very lopsided. 12-4 Seattle with 4 minutes left. The Coyotes, though, they get some pressure with 1.5 minutes left. Keller has a screenshot that's held, but then at 19:36, those dastardly final minute goals, McCann buries one in close from Eberle and Beniers. And first minute goals can be killer too, and that's what we get from Seattle at 27 seconds. It's done from Gord and Tolvanen. So less than a minute of game time, but with that 18-minute intermission in between. So it's 2-0 Seattle. Coyotes look to answer. There's a delay game call, though. The Coyotes get a power play, which is then killed off by Seattle. They allow one shot. The shots on net at that point are only 2-1 for Seattle. And then Eberle at 5:52 buries one in close. He's wide open. Just they blew the coverage on that one. McCann with the assist. Kraken press with 9.5 minutes left. Dauphin has a rush chance. That's defended. The Kraken cleared out. And then Hayden puts Arizona on the board from Bocelli and Krause at 12 minutes. It's a one-timer far corner. And if I was voting for Rookie of the Year, Bocelli for me would be in the top 3. So there's a power play for Seattle. That's killed off. Boyd has a net drive that's saved and held. 3:11 left in the period. Arizona gets a power play. That's killed off too. But after 2, it's 3-1 and Arizona's hanging around. It's definitely better than the last game. Third period, Coyotes press at 2 minutes. But at 3:37 on a fast break, Beniers scores from Eberle and McCann. I'm guessing Beniers has heard all the rumblings about Skinner maybe winning the Calder. and he's trying to make sure that that doesn't necessarily happen. He had 2 points tonight. Wenberg then takes a puck to the ear. That looked like it hurt. Beniers nearly adds another. Eberle has a backhand shot. That's held. Soderstrom has a tip shot. That was held as well. Kellerman versus Tanev then takes place. Kraken come out of that with a power play. That's killed off. 1 shot. And all the brawling is happening late. My favorite comment, though, I had to say, was them saying, it's a division rivalry. And I had to say to the TV, they're not in the same division. But I don't think they heard me. So it's O'Brien versus Borgen that happens during that little kerfuffle towards the end. Kraken come out of it with a power play. That's killed off. And then in the final minute, just to ruin the cheering for the Seattle fans, Dauphin scores his first of the season from Keller at 19:21. And your final score is 4-2. So Seattle's officially in the playoffs. They go to 44-26-8 on the season. Arizona 27-39-13. I just want to say I never had any doubt they were going to make it. You go back to my videos in November, I said they were going to make it when all the pundits and experts were saying, this isn't going to last. So 3 stars are Eberle, McCann, and Beniers. I did not have them in the playoffs before the season, though. I don't know that very many people did. Shots on net are 13-8 Seattle in the first, 6 apiece in the second, and 15-14 Arizona in the third. Final shots 33-29 for Seattle. Power plays Arizona 0-2, Seattle 0-4. Hits 16-9 Seattle. Vejmelka saves 29 out of 33, and Grubauer saves 27 out of 29. All right, next up and last up, and we're done, Colorado and San Jose. So 14 games on Saturday. It's a 16-game day, but it's all day. So it won't be a 14-game video before the power rankings on Saturday. So it's Georgiev versus Kakkonen in this one. Kakkonen had a great game the last time out. This time, not as much. Shots are 1 apiece at 2.5 minutes. Rantanen has a shot that's caught and held. Benning to McDonald. That was picked off. McDonald was playing forward tonight. McKinnon has a net drive that's defended. There was a post for Hurdle on a rush. Sharks press with 5 minutes left. Eventually they score. It's Erik Karlsson pinching there from LeBanc and Peterson at 15:43. The lead doesn't last. A minute and 2 seconds later, Rantanen scores from McKinnon and Girard. I think it's because the San Jose announcers kept talking about how Kakkonen was keeping Rantanen from reaching 50 goals, and maybe Rantanen hurt him because he gets his 50th goal there. And it was a nice rebound shot he gets in there. Sharks press in the final minute. It's 1-1 after 1. Second period. Cogliano's denied on a rush. Things get kind of pushy on a hold by Kakkonen. And then Rantanen roofs a rebound from Rodriguez at 2:32. So Rodriguez gets the turnover over to Rantanen, and it's in the net. Power play then for the Avs. That's killed off. Myers fires one wide. The Sharks rush, but then it's McKinnon. He adds one from Girard and Rantanen at 7:19. So McKinnon wasn't happy with 100 points. He's cruising past that 100 points. And Rantanen has a good shot now, reaching 100 points as well. The Avs press for another, and they get it. At 8:06, it's Rantanen from McKinnon and Taves. Good cycle. That's a hat trick for Rantanen. And Reimer was in the net. Malgin then exits on a hit. At 8:41, Lawrence would score to answer from Karlsson and McDonald. So Karlsson's at 98 points. I even heard tonight a couple of guys talking about, if Karlsson gets 100 points, he has to win because we haven't seen a defenseman do anything like this in so long. And I'm thinking, has everybody forgotten Yossi last year at 96 points, 96, 98 points? Hey, at any rate, it's just one of those things. So there's a power play for the Sharks. That's killed off. And at 15:08, Myers adds another from Nieto, former Shark there. Sharks press in the final minute, but coming out of the second period, it's 5-2 for Colorado. Early in the third, Myers, one goes in off his skate at 3 minutes and 12 seconds. Newhook and Nieto with the assists. Nieto then nearly adds another. Shots are 3-0 for the Avs at 6.5 minutes. Thrun then had a rush chance. That was saved. The Sharks press with 2 minutes left, but they lose this one 6-2. Colorado 47-24-6. They stay tied with Dallas. They have the tiebreaker on Dallas, and therefore they're first in the division. For San Jose, they're 22-40-16 on the season. Your 3 stars are Rantanen, McKinnon, and Nieto. Shots on net, 7-6 Colorado in the first, 15-8 Colorado in the second. Both teams had 9 shots in the third. Final shots, 31-23 Colorado. Power plays, both teams 0-1. Hits, 30-16 for San Jose. Georgiev saves 21 out of 23. Kakkonen saved 15 out of 19, and then Reimer saved 10 out of 12 in relief. So there you go. All done for tonight. This is the longest, and then next Thursday, I think there's 15 games that night. So That one's just going to be just as long. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.